Good morning, I'm Dr. Moshe Lewis, delighted to be the host of Music and Medicine and to be joined by Jasmine Guy. You are our Juliet. We have followed you since school days, going all the way back, because that was actually before Different World. This Emmy win, I want to start with that and then we'll go backwards. Talk to us about sort of the role, and it spoke to our heart. The show's called Music and Medicine because this character's on the autism spectrum. Talk to us about sort of getting the role and what you felt you wanted to bring to it.
Well, I was very impressed with the production company, Iron Beard, because of their double messaging. They wanted to celebrate the spectrum of autism as well as bring awareness to it. One of their children has autism or is on the spectrum.
Right.
I love that it had that cause. I love that the female characters are so strong and have superpowers, and I was impressed with the fight scenes. You know, this was not a big budgeted film.
Right.
And I just thought they did a beautiful job with the series.
Sure. If we could pick a French term, you've always played very strong characters and they have been kick ass. We meant to filter that out, but that's just one of the things we admire so much. Going back a bit, just to your dancing career, where it seems like everything really kicked off, talk to us about just sort of being a quintuple threat with the acting, directing, writing, producing, and of course, the dancing.
Well, dancing is my first language, as I put it, because as a little girl, I was always dancing around the house and singing to Mary Poppins, my Mary Poppins album, and acting. I was acting also as a little kid. I was always playing other characters and kind of amusing myself and making my own tapes. These little cassette tapes of me doing scenes against myself with different characters. So I see that dance was the way to give me the discipline, the passion, the ability to perform on live stage. I'm very happy that I had a theatrical background before I started doing a lot of television, because I think it informed the work I did as an actor. Once I went into other fields, I realized that the strength of the dance was still in me as far as my training and what my early teachers poured into me early in life.
Sure. And some of your initial movies, Amazing, School Days, Harlem Nights, I still watch that film. Just understanding from our community, as I know you know, this is long overdue, this Emmy win. Talk to us about sort of really just the time of A Different World and how it was a little bit harder, for whatever reasons, which we can get into, to really recognize the amazing ensemble cast that was revolutionary in the story they were bringing for its time in A Different World.
Well, I do think that, at least in Hollywood, where we were actually filming A Different World, we couldn't feel the electricity like we did once we would get up back to the East Coast.
Right.
And, and the people were interacting with us and letting us know, because we did perform the show before 2 live audiences every episode.
Okay.
So we had a human response to the work, but there was times when we felt that, I don't know, people would just ask, how does it feel to be between Cosby and Cheers? And I would be on their show promoting A Different World, and I didn't know how to answer that. I said, well, we have been number 2 and number 1 for 6 years, and people can change the channel. Everybody got a remote control.
Sure.
So I don't take credit for Cheers' audience, and I don't think if our audience is watching their show, then they should be giving us props.
Right. Absolutely, absolutely. It was so revolutionary for its time, seeing us on a college setting, educated people pursuing our degree. Talk to us about just that relationship that developed over time, working with Debbie Allen so closely.
Well, Debbie and I have a long history. I met her when I was 18, and I auditioned for the TV show Fame.
Right.
And then I worked with her also on a movie called Stomping at the Savoy.
Yes.
And of course, A Different World. So, oh, she kept me dancing too. She had me performing the Academy Awards, and I hadn't danced in years. I said, I'm an actor now, I'm not a dancer. She said, darling, you'll always be a dancer. So there I was.
Absolutely, sure. And then some of the videos that you were in, timeless. I also wanted to highlight, going on a different tangent for a moment, the work that you did with Tupac's mom and that book, and what that meant to you, and some of the things you were conveying, especially about another strong black woman who was a Black Panther.
That was a powerful experience. It lasted a 7-year period because I started working with her on the project before Tupac was shot the second time.
Right.
And then when that happened, I just put all the research and everything in the garage, and it was just not the time anymore to shop her project, because I always wanted to do her story before he was born. Right. And I knew Tupac would take care of his own story. Right. So it was just a lot to get over and a lot to get through for her after her son died. And it was about 7 years after that. I stayed friends with the family and in touch with the family, that she said, okay, I'm ready to write that book. And I thought, oh, I got my box out of the garage, and I started thinking of all the writers that I wanted to run by her to write her story, you know, like, I don't know, Pearl Clegg or Sonia Sanchez, Nikki Giovanni.
Yes.
And she said, but I'm not going to talk to anybody else about, you know, you have all the interviews and the transcripts, so you just write it.
Sure.
And I thought, okay, problem one, I'm not a writer.
Right.
And I really didn't want that responsibility of telling her story. Sure. It just was like, and she said, then it won't get done. He almost threatened me to write it.
Right, wow.
She believed in me, and I really had to believe in her belief in me. And I also called my mom, because I knew she would edit my work and not give me any slack. She's an English teacher.
Right.
So I knew she wouldn't just let me slide or get away with things, you know. Right. I had never written that much. I didn't go to college. I didn't write essays.
Right.
You know, I had journals and things like that I wrote, or long letters, but it was quite a learning curve for me. And I also learned to write in my own voice. I wanted the audience to get to know Afeni as I did.
Sure.
And it was not chronological, because her storytelling was all over the place. Right. So, and there were a lot of Shakurs.
Right. Right.
And there were a lot of Lumumbas. And I was just like, whoa, well, are you all related? Oh no, that's so-and-so. I was okay. So I learned a lot about that period in time. Sure. And I thought they did a great job in the TV series, Dear Mama. Sure. You know, contrasting Tupac and Afeni's life, and I learned so much more than I even knew when I wrote the book, because they had footage of her when she was young, and that at the time I wrote the book was not available. There's very few photos of her even, and I didn't have audios of her speeches like they do in the show. It made them both feel alive. Right, it brought it. Again, you know, it was very moving, I thought.
No, absolutely. And it's a little known fact that he had spent some time with you at one point when he was recovering.
Well, he was recuperating after he was shot that first time. And he was at Bellevue, and he wanted a safer place to stay where people didn't know where he was, because that had been highly publicized. And he still didn't know who shot him. So, you know, he never thought it was just a mugging. Right. A random mugging. Right. So there was a lot of fear, you know, during that time. And he had, you know, 4 or 5 bullet wounds. Right. So it was a very tense time.
Sure. What was something you felt you took away in being with him during that period of time of recuperation?
Well, being around him and all of his family had a lot of energy. And he was still very creative. You know, he was writing while he was laying on the couch, you know, writing raps and you know, telling his cousins and stuff to write their bridge. And, you know, he had it orchestrated where he had like 5 songs in 2 weeks or something. I thought that was also pretty incredible that he could just sit there and just start rapping like that without any paper. I was like, don't you need to write this down? Don't you need to practice? So, you know, amongst the fear, there was also a lot of joy and a lot of communion.
Sure. What's something about him that you sensed you picked up on that maybe the public really never understood?
Well, I always saw him going with his acting and directing and writing. I saw it almost like, you know, Ice Cube or Will Smith, how they made transitions from rapping to film, because I thought he was that talented as an actor.
Absolutely.
And I was always trying to encourage him with the acting because he was getting a rap, not to use the pun, that he was just being himself. And I said, yeah, but the point is, he's making you believe that character, and that's what our job is. To make you believe that those people are real, that we're playing, you know? So I just wanted him not to listen to that kind of noise and stay focused.
Sure. Well, I think you brought up a good point there about sort of making us believe that character is real. We know on A Different World that actually isn't fully you, but talk to us about sort of where you got the voice from and just sort of the mannerisms and things like that that you brought to that character.
Well, the accent came from my 3rd grade teacher, and that was the year that I moved to Atlanta from New York, and I couldn't understand everybody's accent. And of course, they were making fun of me too. They wanted me to talk all the time because they had never heard. I mean, they kept saying, "Dad, see, I told you she talked proper," and I'd say, "You mean properly?" Good way to get your butt kicked on the playground. But I started imitating the accents I was hearing, and when I went to audition for A Different World, I had already auditioned for the show before and had obviously not gotten it. So I wanted to do something that stood out more from what I had done. It was the same casting director, so, you know, I wanted to show something different. And I read the scene to my mom, and I said, "Is that funny?" She said, "Well, you know, it's a sitcom." I said, "Mommy, I have to be funny." She said, "What if I do it like Miss Pinker?" And she cracked up. So that was it. And then I had to backpedal and figure out why was this character talking like Miss Pinker, you know? So there was some physicalities that I found in Whitley that just made me act like her right away, like the way she always walked, like this. And once I did that, it just did other things, you know, it made my arms move different. It gave me more of like and then the other mannerisms just came into play once I found that little plug, you know, like a socket I could plug my Whitley in.
What do you cherish most about your experience with that cast and that show and working under Debbie?
Well, we really did hang out together, and it was very much a familial kind of cast, because none of us were from LA, so when we got to LA, we were always hanging with each other because we really didn't know the city yet. We were coming from New York, we was coming from Canada, Jada came from Baltimore, you know. So it was, growing up together was kind of cool. And knowing that we were going to see each other the next year too. Because every summer we had to wait to get picked up, what they would call that period of, you know, the network has to approve, and so we never knew if we were going to come back the next year, you know. So that was good whenever we saw each other and made it for 6 seasons.
As you transitioned away, what do you feel are some of the biggest challenges that you faced? Because it seems like you really took on roles that were completely the opposite.
Yes, I was really interested in other character work. I always considered myself a character actor.
Right.
And I got a kind of, stuff like the Dominique LaRue and Harlem Nights, like these glamorous kind of things. And that was something that was also foreign. Yeah. People think I'm glamorous, but I am not. And so it's more work for me to play those kind of characters. Mm-hmm. I'm more conscious, and aware. And more like the role I played on Dead Like Me, the little Roxy character, the meter maid. I'm more acting like, I more walk like that and act like her. Sure. So sometimes I would feel like I wasn't even acting when I was playing the part. Right. Do you feel like I was so comfortable in my little uniform and my flat shoes, and I didn't have to wear pumps all day and hold my stomach in, Right. So it just depends. The challenges and the roles always teach me something. And I love being a part of the puzzle and holding my own in a part that I play, but contribute to the whole. Sure. As you get that kind of fulfillment in an ensemble cast.
Sure, absolutely. I think that's a good transition to one of your projects, The Lady Makers, where you're really helping some younger women who may have gone wayward. What inspired you about taking on that role?
Well, I loved that it was about the creator and writer, Tony, grew up when his mother was a domestic and worked for these Jewish women in Mississippi. And that was fascinating to me that they became so close. And she learned a lot about the Jewish religion and culture through these women. And these women were bringing in detainees from, and trying to train them so they wouldn't have to go to prison or juvie. Right. And that program was also instituted. Some of the rituals, I think, were expounded on in the movie, and it had a kind of magic feeling to it. It was a different view of the South too, and a view of women of the South, Black and white women in the South, and a different kind of unity that you don't always see in Southern movies from that time.
Sure. Let's contrast that to Harlem, where you certainly have lived and very familiar. Did that sort of feel like coming home?
Yes, I love doing Harlem. It's so much fun. And I love that show is so beautiful. When I first got on the set in the restaurant, I was like, oh, okay, we're going here. Nice. Art and colors and sunshine on the sidewalks. Yes. A lot of TV and film makes Harlem look very gray and a little dark, and contrasting. And I love the sunshine of it. And of course, the four women I think are great on the show. Sure. Most of my scenes are with Grace Byers, who I adore. Yeah. So I just go and have a good time.
Sure. What are some of those elements that you look for in a script before deciding to take it on?
Well, I try to see if it's a part that I can bring something to. Mm-hmm. If it's a role and I'm like, I don't really know what I can do that anybody can't do. Right. You know what I mean? And, I know I can, if it's a little spark in there, or as I've gotten older, I have more life experience. Yes. And I can I don't have to imagine everything now. Mm-hmm. Now I have had heartache. Now I have had a child. Right. Now all of those things I just pretended or imagined. I played a pregnant young woman many times before I was, had my real baby. And it just informs my work, and I feel closer to it. I feel closer to the art of acting, having experience and going, oh, I know that. I know that feeling.
Sure.
Like when I had to play the aunt of Emmett Till in a short film called My Nephew Emmett, right. I could access her very easily. Like I didn't have to go and make myself cry in the corner, and some of the things I used to have to do when I was younger. I could access very quickly.
Sure.
And again, I had a similar scene with Raven,
Right.
Simone, when we did Queen, because I had to give her up to the big house. I was gonna say the White House.
Right. Almost.
The big house. And it was very draining because we were both like always trying to, you know, stay in character, stay in that moment, and we were, you know, kind of sobbing for hours filming that scene. And when I did my nephew Emmett, I could really just go right there. Like just the thought of losing my kid, boom.
No, absolutely.
And I could, and I'm enjoying that experience too, being more connected with what the writers created for me to play, because I don't feel like I'm pretending as much anymore.
Right. You've got the depth and substance. I purposely wanted to walk through a lot of those projects to sort of lay the foundation for coming back to talking about the Emmy. You've said that you feel embraced by the Academy. To what extent is it so long overdue? You'd won so many awards on our side of the house, so to speak, NAACP and the Image Awards and things like that, and to finally have like full recognition, how does that feel?
It really, you know, and as I was thanking people, I got a little full because I realized that this Emmy was for The Chronicles of Jessica Wu,
Right.
but also A Different World.
Yes.
And also Atlanta. And that made me very full because, you know, I went to a performing arts high school in Atlanta. I was in Atlanta Ballet. All of my training before I went to New York at 17 came from the community of Atlanta. I went to Spelman Dance School when I was a little girl. And I remembered all my teachers, my dance teachers, my choreographers, you know, people that encouraged me, pulled me aside, you know, invested. And that was very, you know, because I was surprised at how excited I was when I won.
Right.
I had stopped investing or thinking about those things anymore, you know, and just really try to enjoy the experience of the work,
Right.
more than the reward, or the award in this case. So yeah, that I was tickled. I mean, it's been a whirlwind. I've been elated. I've been so happy, and I've done so much press here in Atlanta. And it's even different doing press here because I'm getting texts from old teachers of mine.
Wow.
Now, you know, I'm talking to people from elementary school.
Right.
I'm still answering all my texts.
Wow.
Because they're calling from, you know, I guess the longer you live, the more people you know.
Right.
You know?
It's a rumor.
So, I've just been enjoying that experience as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Sure. Absolutely, and being thankful. Talk to us about coming full circle. You're in Atlanta now, as you had stated, and you're home, and the importance sometimes of that being near family, the ones you love, and giving so much to a lot of the local theater there, local groups, indie films.
Yes, I do a lot of work here. I love working here while I'm home. But I'm also, there's such a movement here now that I didn't think I would experience. I moved here about 15 years ago, thinking I'd be here for a couple of years and then have to move to New York and LA again. But then the production started coming in, and I started working. I did Vampire Diaries. I did Drop Dead Divas. I did, you know, whatever shows were going on, they were happy to bring me in. And then a lot of independent production companies that I felt, you know, maybe needed a name to help them with distribution or selling the product, you know. And then I was awarded the ability to do theater, direct, choreograph, and other things that I had not done before. You know, at one point I was like, I don't know why these people think I can direct, because they just made that assumption. When I first directed, when I directed for Colored Girls,
Right.
I did it because I was at a point in my life where I just wanted to say yes to whatever people wanted me to do. Like, if I ask God to tell me what I need to do now, what I need to do next in my life, then I have to answer when those people call. And I did want to stretch. And I did want to see how much I knew. I was honest with my cast, you know, but they were very open and giving and beautiful. It was really a beautiful production. The other thing was I had never seen a production of For Colored Girls, and I didn't want to tell them that.
Right, sure. We'll give it a secret.
Yeah, it seems like you don't, as a black actress, you don't say that.
Right.
You don't say you haven't seen August Wilson plays, and
sure.
you don't see you haven't seen For Colored Girls.
Right.
So I held that in for a while. I was really happy though that I had never seen a production, because that meant, and I'm sure I did things just the way some other, you know, productions did them.
Sure.
But I couldn't copy what I hadn't seen.
Sure.
You know,
Right.
so I tend to try not to see things ahead of time since that experience.
Sure.
Yeah, because when I did Chicago and I was playing Velma Kelly, we were doing the national tour while the original cast was still on Broadway.
Right.
So some of our cast were going over to see the show after rehearsals.
Okay.
And I think I talked to Anne Rankin and I said, "Do you think I should see it?" She said, "No, you're doing fine. Just, you know, it may confuse you." Blocking is the same, choreography is the same,
sure.
Flavor totally different, you know. And again, we're working as an ensemble. Even though Velma and Roxy were the two, you know, we had Mama Morton, we had Oba Babatunde, who was playing Billy, and we were complimenting each other in our cast as they were doing on Broadway, but a different flavor.
Sure. Absolutely. I wanted to talk a little bit as we wrap up about your daughter and what it feels seeing full circle some of the work that she's starting to do and working together with her, and what that means to you.
Well, you know, it took her a long time to tell me she wanted to act. She said she was nervous that I would say no. And I was kind of surprised because it happened at a school that I had her in a college prep school.
Okay.
And had I known, I might have sent her to a performing arts school.
Sure.
Like I went to. So she could get her academics and her, you know. So, but she loved the school she was in. She ended up getting accepted to, I don't know, 4 out of the 5 schools that she applied to, and went to NYU and studied at the Tisch School.
Sure.
So, yeah, she had to graduate during the COVID thing, though. Right. She had to do her junior and senior year online. I mean, you know, Zooming.
Right.
Very hard to do a Haitian dance class in your living room on a Zoom call.
Right.
I felt bad for the teachers. Right. You know, everybody was making that adjustment, but having to, you know, learn how to teach and do this and see all your kids at the same time. But I really admire how she stuck to it and kept herself motivated, because that was another thing. Theater is an interactive class.
Absolutely.
So you're also not having live scene work or, you know, very interesting. But again, everybody was suffering in some way. Everybody had to make a huge adjustment. So I'm proud of her, and she's still in New York. She likes New York.
Yes.
I don't blame her for that either.
Exactly.
I always say I was raised in Atlanta, but I grew up in New York.
Okay. Right.
Because, you know,
it never leaves you.
You know, 30 years that I was going between New York and LA, that was the first 6 and 7 years I was in New York. I didn't live, well, I went to LA to do Fame for like 3 or 4 months, but most of the time I was in New York. And when I got to LA, I felt like I was more made of New York than out there. Yeah.
A lot of depth,
You know,
a
like
lot of substance.
in LA, they always ask you, what are you doing next?
Right.
What's happening now?
Right.
And sometimes, I'm sorry, I live in the middle of Atlanta. There's always a lot going on out there. It would make me feel like, God, haven't I done enough?
Sure.
Maybe I'm not doing anything right now. I don't know.
And that's okay.
But in New York, they always remember the best thing you ever did, no matter when it happened.
Sure. Right.
They'll talk about somebody's, triple pirouette for decades. It becomes gypsy lore, you know.
Right.
And I just love that.
Sure.
I love that. And everybody was so happy. It's like one got away because we were all in the ensembles together. You know, I was in Leader of the Pack, Beehive, Grease, and those were years, you know, tours that I did. I did The Wiz for like 9 months and then went and did it in Japan for 4 months.
Right.
So it was like one of ours got a TV show.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And Debbie is like that too. Debbie brings the theater community with her, the dance world with her, movies with her, television with her, producing with her. You know, she is everything. And she still is and still does that with her fabulous Dance Academy and now exec producing Grey's Anatomy.
What an illustrious career, what an amazing woman you are, Jasmine Guy. We really so appreciate you joining us here on Music and Medicine. Thanks so much for tuning in. Continue to watch us on YouTube at musicandmedicine.org.